This band has a.
You know, growing up in Brazil, when I was about 12 years old, I started to listen to jazz. But of course, in my country, the trumpet was not an instrument that there was a tradition. You know, there were some good trombone players, as Slide knows about, but and some saxophone players. But I could not find trumpet players that were playing jazz. So obviously, I had to go to records and listen and try to learn through the records. So when I was 12 years old, I went to a record store, and everybody kept saying to me, "Oh man, you have to listen to this guy, Chet Baker. This is the newest thing there in America." So I went to a record store, and I said, "Do you have a Chet Baker record?" They said, "No, unfortunately we don't have, but we have this other one." And I said, "I'll take it." It was Dizzy and Roy Eldridge. Was that what it was?
Did you ever go back to look for Chet Baker after that?
No, I did. No, I like it. I like it also. But I mean, when I listened to that music, Dizzy and Roy, I was just blew my mind. You know, I said, "What is this?"
Yeah, man.
Chet was like a Miles enthusiast. He played more like Miles did in the early
Yeah,
days.
definitely. But you know, I wrote an article on Freddie Hubbard in Downbeat in 1962. They now reprint some of the old articles, and here was this piece on Freddie. So you know, I hadn't looked at it in a long time, and I remember though, he said the first trumpet player he went for was Chet. He says because I couldn't really understand, you know, with Dizzy, you know, and Bird was too much for me.
That's what Freddie said?
Yeah. And then he got with them, you know, and then he picked up on Miles, you know. And it's funny, but it says in the article, more Miles relaxed, and I said I didn't write that, so I have bound copies of the old Downbeat. Miles related, so they retyped it and they got it wrong.
Miles relaxed.
So I called the guy, the editor of Downbeat. I said, "You correct that in the next issue."
The third album I got was Miles and Train, round about midnight. That was another experience at age 13, you know.
Oh man.
You know, the only trumpet player that I ever heard that tried to emulate this was Lonnie Hilliard.
How about David Burns?
How about Dave Burns?
Yeah, but Lonnie Hilliard,
Yeah.
he had that something that did. And then John Patton, I mean, he can do all those things that did.
Yeah.
Because Miles said it was too difficult for him to do it.
Yeah.
But I remember when Dizzy made that little small band that you were on, Smoky Hollow Jump and all those, and Dave Burns is the other trumpet player. And we had a hell of a time when they're playing fours, figuring out who was playing where, you know.
Well, I saw the band in Apollo when Dizzy had a problem with a hair growing in his lip or something, and he was having a problem with his chops. And Dave Burns was taking all the solos, and you know, it was close.
Yeah.
Dave Burns could play that.
Oh, yeah.
In Dizzy's style.
He was the first one I heard. But you're right about Lonnie. Lonnie didn't have strong chops, but he had a way of getting in those different crevices and places where Dizzy
went.
Yeah, he had that.
Did you know of Lonnie?
I was able to see him, but it was already late. It was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Dizzy had a hole in his lip as big as a lollipop.
Yeah.
A hole in there. And I don't know where it came from. We got off the bus one time to take a break and played some football or something. And I think maybe he got hit and then something else happened. And next thing you know, boy, you know.
The Metronome All Stars, just on that when Miles and Dizzy and Fats Navarro were training, it's also hard to tell.
Oh, very hard. I had to sit with it for a couple of hours to
and
figure
Miles
it
was
out.
playing high as
Always
everybody
playing
else
high
played
in
in.
Well, Miles said at the time, he said, Fats and me, we got together and we said we're going to play like Dizzy, you know.
He's a great record.
It is amazing. Well, there's a recording made at the Pershing in Chicago when Miles is sitting in with Dizzy's band, summer of '48, I think, and he's playing everything up in the upper register.
Which
Is that what Charlie Parker?
It's not an album. It was just
And Charlie Parker's on there too?
Well, that may have been another day, or but there is a recording with Charlie Parker with the, just private recordings.
Yeah, because I was there, man, and Charlie Parker, like he was teaching,
Yeah.
and man, everybody was Charlie Parker playing, man.
That's what Dizzy told me.
Yeah.
He said,
Yeah.
Dizzy taught me a lot of those ensembles, like showing up and those things.
Yeah.
And he said, but when we played them, he said, I wasn't playing all the notes. He said, Charlie Parker was playing all the notes. I was playing what I could.
Okay.
Well, on this recording that someone made there, you could hear the people in the audience reacting to when Bird would play a certain thing, like a congregation, amen, more or less. It was amazing the way
Oh,
they
he was incredible.
responded to him.
You know what? At the Savoy Ballroom, we used to play Things to Come.
Oh, yeah.
And the people they used to dance to that. They used to call it off time.
Mhm.
So like they go, and they be dancing like this, they're dancing.
That's trained.
And man, I mean, like, and sometimes if they felt really energetic, they danced in that tempo. But most time it didn't make any difference what the tempo was. If it was fast,
Well,
they
this
do off
thing
time.
makes me look big.
Well, do you remember a dance called the Applejack?
This is you here.
That's my
You
thing.
look
Well, at
big,
the
man.
Roost, there was a little dance floor, and when they first started having jazz, and for Bird and people were playing, and some guys got up and started dancing to the music, and they said it was the Applejack.
Oh yeah.
That's what they called it. You remember that?
What do you got? What do you got there, Mr. Moody?
I got John Coltrane.
Can you point it? Can
Tony
you show it to the
Parker.
camera?
That's
Section,
that's
is this
me.
you?
Yeah, that's my
And
band.
this is section.
Can you turn it around for the camera?
Look at that.
Well, that's you talking about what Bird does. Look at Train, the way he's looking at
Yeah, he's
Charlie
looking at
Parker like this.
Oh, yeah.
With
Can you
a
guys
cigarette
turn that around for the camera?
Yeah.
in amazement.
Oh yeah.
In amazement. That's the thing.
Can you
When
get
he
it?
was talking about the way Dizzy used to look at Bird, look at Train looking at Bird the same way. Everybody looked at Bird the same way. Because he was the one who was the,
I don't know how
he brought the music
You
here.
developed to that level.
He was miraculous.
I don't know how you developed to that level.
I think he said that some days he would play, for hours and hours and hours when he was,
It must have. It must
you
have.
know.
Because when he did the string thing, it was just
Oh,
everything he played was just incredible for somebody to improvise something that fit the music that well. You know.
okay, I would like to warm up.
And to write something like
This is incredible composition. Imagine if he stuck around when he wrote things like that fugue that he wrote.
You the one that Miles been playing.
Oh, yeah.
The
The two-part.
Chasing the Bird.
Chasing the Bird.
And Al
Stuff like that, yeah. I mean, he was a compositional mind was incredible as his playing, but he never lived long. What, 34? Man?
How about Klaktovitsenstein?
Oh, yeah.
That's another beautiful
Oh, yeah.
line.
Yeah. You got enough, man?
Thank you, guys.
We gotta warm up, man. We got a gig to play.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Charlie Parker played all his gigs, man.
Let it be on record.
Except on the big
Let
bandstand.
it be on record that I'm saying that I'm very fortunate because I was with this band 61 years ago and I'm with them now, along with Section.
You hear that?
I heard this band that he was in. And I was marveled at the way they played music.